Ladies and gentlemen, honoured guests, I am very proud and very privileged to be the Director of the Scottish National Blood Transfusion Service, and I'm here today to tell you about our successful partnership with the Scottish Ahlul Bayt Society, and in particular to speak a little bit about the success of the Imam Husain blood donation campaign. Our mission within the Blood Transfusion Service in Scotland is to support the transfusion needs of patients in Scotland, and it is our duty to ensure that the donor's gift is used wisely and effectively for the benefit of patients. Now, patients may need blood for many reasons, whether they are receiving treatment for cancer, treatment for leukemia, in an emergency or after a trauma situation, during or immediately after childbirth, or indeed just as a standby to enable surgery to take place or as a result of that surgery. Not sure if you were aware, but premature babies may need as little as 3 teaspoons of blood to save their lives. And I am aware of one young gentleman who, in the course of a weekend following a trauma incident at the other extreme, required more than 200 adult components in a very short period of time. So to save lives, the NHS in Scotland relies on the kindness, generosity and altruism of the people in Scotland to give blood. And blood cannot be stockpiled. We can't put it in a warehouse on the middle of the M8 and leave it there indefinitely. It has a shelf life of only 35 days. And indeed, platelets, when we manufacture platelets, currently have a shelf life of 5 days, soon to be extended to 7 days at the beginning of April. So there is a constant requirement for us to keep 6 days' supply of the 8 different blood groups at all times in Scotland to cover all eventualities. And that means that on average, we need to welcome more than 500 blood donors every day in Scotland to keep blood supplies at satisfactory levels. Interestingly, when I looked at the stats last year, around 140,000 blood donors led to 205,000 blood and platelet collections, which in turn led to Scottish Blood Transfusion Service manufacturing more than 235,000 components, and those were issued to more than 50,000 patients across Scotland. That's a big achievement for a country with a population of around 5 million people. It's also, just as an aside, an interesting piece to note that when we manufacture components, it's not just those 8 main blood groups. We've recently done a piece of work that identifies that we manufacture around 140 different components. Some of those we do as a standard component. Others, there may be an individual patient with a very individual special need that requires a very individual and special donor to come forward. So it is indeed complex and much needed across Scotland. The challenge in Scotland, as is the case in fact across the EU, and I'll be attending the European Blood Alliance in April, on this occasion to be held in Croatia, where the European countries come together to exchange experience in blood transfusion services. But we need to maintain blood supplies in the face of increasing pressures, and one of those that we are all facing is attracting and maintaining blood donors, retaining and particularly attracting young people. People lead busy, complicated lives. They're juggling different demands on a daily basis, and it's for this reason that we really value partnerships like the one that we have with the Scottish Ahlul Bayt Society. And just to give you some background on our special relationship, this all started back in 2014 when a group of young Muslims in Scotland decided to give blood as part of the Islamic Unity Society's national Imam Husain blood donation campaign. The campaign was timed with the holy month of Muharram, the Islamic New Year, and the society included many people who were already blood donors and giving regularly, but this was the first year, the first occasion where their efforts were harnessed as part of a cohesive campaign. The campaign was initially brought to the communities of Edinburgh and Glasgow by Scottish charities, the Edinburgh Ahlul Bayt Society, which is TEAS, and the Glasgow Ahlul Bayt Association, the GAA, local charities that engage with Muslim students and young professionals. They joined with the Scottish National Blood Transfusion Service to give blood together and to encourage new and existing blood donors to give blood. And in that first year, over 130 people came forward to donate blood. And additionally, Jim Eadie, MSP, secured a members' debate at the Scottish Parliament, which took place here on Wednesday the 5th of November, to mark the Imam Husain Blood Donation Campaign 2014. Ifkhar Ali, coordinator for the Imam Husain Blood Donation Campaign, said at the time, "An important part of our faith as Muslims is to contribute to the society we live in, and this campaign encourages people to do just that. It's a pleasure to work on this campaign, encouraging Muslims to give blood during Muharram. They've had an excellent response, and I'd like to encourage as many people as possible to donate blood." The success of the campaign was such that it was repeated in 2015, and it was extended to Inverness, Aberdeen and Dundee, truly becoming something that people all over Scotland can take part in. As the campaign is timed with Muharram, it has become a critical part of our promotional year for SMBTS. During October and November, the number of people coming through our doors to give blood can reduce by 20%. There's a number of reasons why that happens. There's October school holidays, daylight saving time can cause some darker nights, and with our climate in Scotland, which we don't necessarily the same as many other countries around Europe and the rest of the world, we can't really blame people for not wanting to step outside in cold, wintry, wet October evenings. But on a serious note, it means that these donations are absolutely critical, with every donation being very precious to Scotland's hospitals at a time when supplies can become low. As well as actively giving blood during Muharram, donors from the Imam Husain Blood Donation Campaign have been called upon at other times. For example, this past Christmas and New Year period, some of you will be aware that we experienced the closure of the Forth Road Bridge. We had some adverse weather, and that actually meant that several of our donation sessions in communities were disrupted. As a corrective measure, the Edinburgh Donor Centre had to open at short notice on Sunday the 3rd of January, directly following our festive period. And again, many Imam Husain Blood Donation Campaign donors came forward to give blood. The people who did were a great support to the Edinburgh Blood Donor Centre at this time, and we are truly grateful for them doing so. It is to suffice to say that the campaign is universally welcomed by all of our team, by nurses, recruiters and donor carers alike. And in fact, I'm joined by a number of my team here this evening who will be very willing to answer any questions that you may have. And indeed, in September 2015, Shabir Beg, who's patron of the Scottish Bayt Society, was presented with our Volunteer of the Year award at the annual awards ceremony held by NHS National Services Scotland. And we were absolutely delighted to present Shabir with this token of our recognition and thanks for the work that he has undertaken in bringing us together. Since it began in 2014, the number of donations now given as a result of the Imam Husain campaign is over 800 per session. And as each donation can be split into 3 separate parts, that's red cells, platelets and plasma, this means that over 2,400 people in Scotland have had their lives saved or improved as a result of the efforts of the people who have contributed. The strapline employed for the campaign, as you can see, or you will be able to see, says, "Whoever saves one life, it is as if he has saved the whole of mankind." This is taken from the Holy Quran, verse 5.32. The patients who receive these blood donations, your blood donations, cannot thank you personally. So on their behalf, I take the opportunity this evening to extend my thanks to you all on their behalf, and particularly thanks to Shabir and the Scottish Ahlul Bayt Society for supporting the health service and blood transfusion service in Scotland.